Where's that testing microphone at? Where's that testing microphone at? All right, sounds good to me. Where's that testing microphone at? All right, sounds good to me. All right, so let's pick up where I left off. When used with the verb ser, cual and que both mean what, but they are not interchangeable. Cual is more common and is used to indicate a selection or a choice of possibilities. Que is used to elicit a definition or an explanation. ¿Cuál es la capital de España? Where is the capital of Spain? ¿Qué es la capital? What is the capital? In other words, what is the definition of capital? Okay. Anyway, possessive adjectives are used to show ownership. Mi libro, my book. Tu pluma, your pen. Okay. There are 4 possessive adjectives: mi, tu, su, nuestro. 3 possessive adjectives: mi, tu, su, have only 2 forms, singular and plural. Mi, mis, tu, tus, su, sus. Possessive adjectives agree with the nouns they modify. That is, they agree with the thing possessed, not the possessor. How you doing over there? Okay. Okay, so mi libro, my book. Mis libros, el gato de negro me. El gato, that's cat. The cat, the negro, the cat of black. From black. The cat from black. El gato de negro. Am I right? For the black cat. Mis libros, my books. Tus plumas, your pens. Yes, mis libros, my books. Yeah, that's going to be tough to remember. That rule makes sense though. Okay, so mis libros. Interesting. Tus plumas, your pens. That's going to be tough to remember. Yeah, the black cat. Oh, I did say it eventually. Ni, tu, and su do not have masculine and feminine forms. They stay the same regardless of the gender of the nouns they modify. Here, you want the phone? Take it. Okay. All you're gonna do is break it. Just throw it right away. That's all you're gonna do is break it. He threw it right away. Okay. Mi amigo, mi amiga. Tus hermanos, your brothers. Tus hermanas, your sisters. Su libro, your book. Sus plumas, your pens. So tu, again, is second person, and sus is the he, she, third person. Mi means my, tu means your. That's why you hear mi casa es tu casa, or more familiar in Black society, we hear mi casa And you hear tu casa and you hear mi casa, su casa. My house is your house. Okay, my means, me means mine, tu means your. Mi casa es tu casa. Su, like tu, can mean your. The difference between your, tu, and your su lies in the degree of formality the speaker wishes to convey. Mi casa es tu casa, speaking to someone you would address as tu, like somebody you're familiar with. Mi casa es su casa, speaking to someone you would address as usted. That means somebody's profession, or somebody in authority, or an elder. Okay, notice the words tu and tu are pronounced the same. Tu with the written accent is the subject pronoun meaning you, informal. Tu with the written accent is the possessive adjective meaning your, informal. Su has 4 meanings: his, her, their, and your. Okay. Su, so mi casa, su casa could be you, or your, more, it can mean your house, it can mean his house, her house, or their house, plural. Maria busca a su hermana. Maria is looking for her sister. So in this context, su is her, because we talked about Maria. Juan busca a su hermana. Juan is looking for his sister. The subject is Juan. Ellos buscan a su hermana. They are looking for their sister, because ellos is a mixed group, plural, or all boys, plural. Su madre busca a su hermana. Your mother is looking for your sister. So you can start off by saying your mother looking for her sister. So the a is for, is translated as for. You got it right. I know a little Spanish, Spanglish, because I live in California. Spanglish. So what I hope to do is this. What I hope to do is at some point learn Spanish, but introduce it to Black society as a second language, but we can even Blackanize it, since everything is Blackology anyway. And what do I mean by Blackanize? Naturally, if Black folks start speaking, learning the Spanish language, and we speak it to primarily each other, we're going to break simple syntax. We're going to break simple rules as far as accent, pronunciation, enunciation. We're going to break those rules because we're talking to each other. There's nobody to correct us that is a native speaker. So that's how slang usually come about, or second language. Creole from French, Latin American Spanish from Spain Spanish. That's the goal. So we'll have our own version of Spanish, which other people who speak, the same language will be able to understand us to a degree. Like I said, French and Creole. Okay. But that's what I hope to do. Hola, ¿cómo estás? Bien, ¿y tú? In India, we had Spanish class in elementary school. I barely remember any of it. I learned more Spanish dealing with Mexicans on the street. That's a fact. So a lot of my students, they are definitely in Spanish right now. So that's another thing. I'm always trying to, again, Dr. Clark Anderson, if anybody wants to go into business, okay, or you're already in business, if you're already doing well, then whatever. But if you don't know where to go and you're starting up, you might want to listen to this right here. Okay, so let me give you something that you should want to listen to. This one lecture gave me so much gain. Okay, this is like a must. This right here.
Busted, uneducated, ignorant, homeless, nothing, and say we are now free. And that is the only minister, Dr. Price, that I've heard that understands that you got an obligation in the ministry to go
when I watched this, I don't know how long it was ago. It had to be like, I don't know, 2000 and what, 2000, I don't know, 2000 and maybe 8, 7, somewhere around there, anywhere from 2004 to 2000. It could be even 2002. So I'll say anywhere from 2002 to 2014. I'm giving it, because I don't. It's been a long time, but I would know the exact date if I talked to my man who's part of Jabari Shrine. So one of like his priests from my city, and I grew up with him. And his mom used to sell like holistic stuff, right? Way back in the day. In my city, and like that's the first time I ever heard of Sebi. So, but I remember they had Paranomics there, and they didn't have much. What they didn't have, they didn't have much of. Because I recommended, I think Dr. Khalid Muhammad, I recommended, so they got more of that, and I also referred another. I don't know if it was Malachi York. It might have been him. I recommended. They started getting more of his stuff. Okay, but anyway, when I talked to him about his mother's story, then I would know exactly when I watched this, because I know I bought this DVD from him and his mom's story some many years ago. What was that? Anyway, this is going to give you game, okay, on how to sell your services, your product to your people, okay? Because it's probably going to be easier to sell your service and product to other people other than Black folks. So this is game on how to sell your service and products to your people, but most importantly, to find anybody. So sometimes you can't sell your service to anybody, right? Especially when you're trying to over OD your people. But it's going to come a time where you're going to feel like, okay, my services and product isn't really high demand. Isn't really in high demand to my people. So now you want to know, well, who will appreciate or who could take advantage of my service and products? This video is going to guide you to how to do that. Okay, that's the video right here. So I'm gonna play some of it. Let me do a commercial break. We get his oatmeal ready.
They use their culture to protect their community. Where is your...
Okay, right there. I fast forward right into it.
Get your information in. Now that would not happen to organizations, and once that happens, we don't have the money and resources. We can't. Even the cable system is going to be up for grabs because we don't have the money and resources. We can't compete with the whites now who want to buy all the systems. And once that happens, you can't get your information in. Now that would not happen to organizations, to groups like the Hispanics, because see, the Hispanics got smart enough. They built communities. Then they took their language and they built a fence around their communities. They use their culture to protect their communities.
That's what I want to do with this Spanish language. I want to Blackanize it. And what I mean is that we just pronounce it the way we're going through naturally. We're going to mix up our English. We're going to pronounce the Spanish term naturally without native speakers correcting us. We're going to naturally, instead of saying gracias, we're going to say gracias. And then we're going to use the A sound for apple. Instead of sound, the gracias, we're going to say gracias. That's what I mean. We're going to naturally do that without native speakers correcting us or a teacher. But that's okay. We're Blackanizing.
Culture in Los Angeles for Black folk. Where is your fence? And we're going to talk about that later on. You're vulnerable. The fourth thing that's going to happen to you is that this whole contract with white America is not anti-liberalism. It is not anti-Democratic Party. It wasn't even anti-Clinton. What it was they were trying to answer a question that's been haunting white America for about 30-something years. And that is, what do you do with 36 million obsolete Black folk? That's what the contract was for. And how they concluded that was, you see, they got 1,200 white think tanks in America. 1,200 white think tanks. You got one wholly owned Black think tank, and that's the Harvest Institute I'm trying to run. They got 3,000 employees.
That's how I came up with my Facebook group called Black Think Tank. He inspired it. So there you go. As a matter of fact, that might get some sense of direction when I watch this. That's around the time when I created the Facebook group Black Think Tank, right now on Facebook.
$500 million budget. I got a few volunteers. No staff, no money. Because you see, in this country, no blacks wants to give my black think tank any money to help our leaders to develop policy and public issues. And when I ask them for money, what they say is that we can't give you money. I said, why not? They said, what is your organization for? I said, to help black America. They said, who's going to benefit? I said, black folk. They said, who's going to work in it? I said, black folk. They said, ooh, too black. And the first thing that comes to my mind is, how can you be too black? What is too black? 10, 20, 30? What's too black?
Commercial time.
Nobody ever says something is too Jewish,
Oatmeal.
too Indian, too Asian. And I'm telling you, people are telling me this too blackness comes from our black entertainers, our black athletes that's making $100 million. They could give the money to us that they're paying in taxes because we're tax exempt. But they'd rather give it to the government than even give it to an organization to help black folk in this country. Because they don't want to be black. And I keep trying to tell them, it doesn't hurt that much being black. Now, let me move a little fast. I'm talking too slow. I'm going to speed up now. Go real fast. You
talk fast.
Now, what's going to happen now, what these think tanks decided to do in the contract with America, they found out through their research that approximately 68 to 7% of all the blacks in America work in some level of government. This happened as a direct result of the civil rights movement. See, at the end of the civil rights movement, instead of moving against the problem to get more wealth and power for black folk, our civil rights organizations pushed us over looking for jobs. And so all of our black folk, then over 50 to 60% of all the blacks that got jobs after the civil rights movement went into government. So 68 to 70% of all the blacks in America are working either in federal government, city government, state government, county government, libraries, and school systems. So when you hear white folks talking about downsizing government, what they're talking about are de-employing and disemploying black folk. They know that. They know that. So in Washington, D.C., they plan on firing 480,000 people. And what the Office of Management and Budget, right out of the White House, says is that for every white person who gets fired, we're going to fire 2 blacks. Now, if you're only 12.3% of the population, and you're going to fire 2 blacks for every white, you're going to be devastated. Now, let me give you the real picture, even before they started firing black folk. Let me give you the real true options for black folk. There's only 3 things that you can do in this world as a black person to earn a living and survive. You either must work, go on welfare, or you steal. Now, for those who missed that, let me give it to you again. You either work up here, you go on welfare here, or you steal down there. You're talking about your crime problem. I'm going to show you how you get into your crime problem. Now, right now at the top level, everybody prefers to work. Now, I just told you that 68 to 70% of all the black folk are working in government. 26 to 28% of the rest of the blacks are working in white corporations. And those white corporations are going to follow the government. They're going to downsize. You're going to see IBM cutting back, Apple Computers, and Meritech, Lucent Tech, now all of them are going to cut back. Only 2% of the blacks in America work in their own stores and their own business in their own communities. Only 2% that are not vulnerable. Only 2% of blacks are not vulnerable.
And when I seen that, again, when I see black folks working in my city, they're in government. They're working at, welfare or the federal building. That's a fact. That's a fact. Black folks do not work in their own cities, or at least not over here in America and New Jersey. We all work 15, 20, some type of car got to be needed or some type of transportation. Yeah, like black folks really never work in their own cities.
Vulnerable in America.
And that's big.
Now look at the problem at the top. Now, contrary to what anybody tells you, the unemployment problem in America is not 5.2% you hear every day in the newspapers and read. That is not about black folk. That's about whites. They're only talking about people who are either getting unemployment compensation or looking for jobs. That's how they're getting that figure. The unemployment rate in America for black folk today is 34% nationally. Now, if you want to understand how devastating that is, think for a second. Follow me along. Think about this. When the unemployment rate in America for whites went up to 25% in the 1920s, they called it a depression. Now, the unemployment rate for blacks hasn't even come down to 25%. But when the unemployment rate went up for whites and hit 25%, they used every level of government. They said it's a depression and every piece of machinery, money, anything must be used to bring that unemployment rate down. And now with black unemployment rate, not at 25%, at 34%, nobody cares. They say we can't, that's not the role of government to help with the employment problem. 34% for blacks nationally. Now in Detroit, Michigan, Baltimore, and New York, the unemployment rate is 45%. Don't think that's bad yet. I'm giving you the worst stuff yet. In Pittsburgh, it is 49%. And for black youth in this country, it is 57%. That's why you got your problem out here on the streets. Because nobody wants to give you the true facts about why you got problems. Now that's at the top level. Now when you kick those people out of those jobs in the government and out of those corporations, they must go down to the second level. I'm going to show you how you get into your underclass. You kick them down to the second level.
All right, let's go to some solutions.
400 years ago, that was a subordination. He could never be put in a position of power in the polls leading all the way from Jefferson Parish all the way into the city of New Orleans. Time is on. My time running through? Okay. Based on the premise that you're going to have a social democracy, very important for black folks. But also in the Federalist Papers, it says that the majority then can never do anything to stop the minority from becoming a majority. And it is the majority's responsibility to protect the minority. And as soon as they come, at that moment, black people became the only permanently planned minority in the country. Every public policy that you develop, every program that you develop it for non-immigrants. When you develop it for non-immigrants, you get into a special category with just black folk. You immediately, that word non-immigrant reconnects you with your history. It reconnects you with how you got here. It reconnects you with your culture and your past. Right now you have no past and no culture, no future.
So they're saying that this lecture and most of his talking points is the Bible or Genesis for the FBA movement.
And another thing that does when you start using the word non-immigrant is that you jump ahead of all the other groups. As immigrant takes on a negative, you say, hey, I'm not an immigrant, I'm a non-immigrant. And what you also do, you stop whites from bragging about my daddy came from Poland, my daddy came from Germany. You stop them from doing that by saying, hey, you're an immigrant then. I was here before you. See, 97% of all the black people in the United States were here before 97% of all other people here are even arrived today. And I went back and looked in 1860 and saying, in 1860s, what did black folk own, even the free blacks? Positions. They got kicked out. So racism intensified in the country.
That might have been a good point.
When Jews began to come into the country, what they were doing then, they came in looking for wealth building up. Now you're weaker than you ever were. Remember I told you about the strong will win, the weak will. Only 2% of all the black people in America keep their own money in their own communities. And then out of the 2% they keep, they then take that down to a white bank, put it in the bank, can't even get a loan. And now you're bankrupt. And then they come back home and say, how in the world can white folk afford all those fine homes and big houses? That's the only power, the potential that black people have in America is your social, racial cohesiveness. If you don't have that, you have no power. Forget about everything else. That's a fact of life. You got to have a community because the community will give you your businesses. It'll give you your sales opportunities.
So this is what I was talking about, some of the jewels. If you want to, grow your business, if you don't know where to start from. So he's giving you game right here.
Your markets. Now, how do you develop communities? The first thing you must do is stay out of all cross-purpose issues. Cross-purpose means horizontal issues. Don't get involved in any horizontal issues. Let me explain it to you. I see the puzzlements in your eyes. First, racism is vertical. Remember this. Racism is straight up and down. Racism means I don't care whether you're the lowest income black or the highest, the best educated or the least educated. It doesn't make any difference. You're all in the same tube. Okay? That's what Malcolm X is asking, what is a black man with a PhD?
Oh my God.
Remember that saying?
This guy, quick to
The answer is, well, he's still a Negro. Okay? It means it doesn't make any difference. You're all in it together. That's straight up and down.
All right.
Horizontal issues are any issue that pertains to everybody, stay out of it. You're the weakest and poorest and most vulnerable people. Don't get involved in it. Because the only people that can benefit are those people who are directly behind where the horizontal crosses the vertical. Okay? The only people who benefit are where those 2 points. That's the only power, the potential that black people have in America is your social, racial cohesiveness. Right. Is in broad categories, specific terms, what you got to do to be competitive. The things we got to focus on is it.
Commercial over. Let's go back. Because I'm freestyling, I forgot where it's at. All right, anyway. So, if the meaning of Sue is not clear. Oh, he did a video last night. Watch out. Yeah, I kind of fell asleep a little bit. I know Stu P's like, what the hell happened? Because Stu P's joined me. I'm blacked out. Yeah, I can't go live at 10 o'clock. I realized that this morning. I said, no, I fell asleep. All right, let me stop going live at 10 o'clock. It ain't gonna happen. If the meaning of Sue is not clear from the context of the sentence, a prepositional phrase is used in place of Sue. Maria busca a la hermana de él. Maria looks for her sister. Maria looks for his sister. Okay, so Maria looks, busca looks, a will be for. Okay. And don't forget, busca could be he looks, she looks, you look. So Maria looks for his sister, de él. All right. Maria busca el cuaderno de Juan. Maria looks for Juan's notebook. De is of him, of Juan. Okay, Maria looks the notebook of Juan. Maria looks for the sister of him. That's up top. El hombre busca las llaves de ella. The man looks for keys of her. That's like literal translation. El hombre busca las llaves de Samantha. The man looks. Okay, because busca is the verb form for hombre. Las llaves, keys of Samantha. I try to give you some food, you smacked out my hand. Possessive adjective. Yeah, so I'm gonna do another live after this because Chief X did a live last night. I'm gonna replay. I haven't watched it. I'm gonna replay it. Poetic piece, the watcher. Yeah, so is it Rizza Islam versus Farrakhan? I don't see it as a versus. I see it as Farrakhan was just disciplining him for allowing himself to get caught up in a scandal. Yeah, so I see that as that. And you know, like we might be on a panel, we might enjoy each other's company, we might like the content, it's funny sometimes, but we know who is stupid and who's not. So Farrakhan likes Rizza activisms and he puts the Nation of Islam, he bigs them up, but he knows he's stupid, okay? He knows Dr. Bashir Muhammad has a PhD, he's very educated and all that. He knows he is educated and Rizza is stupid. So Farrakhan is wise not to let the public choose, you know, some voting type stuff. He's, you know, so in this case, Farrakhan is acting as an elector, right? He's not gonna let the people vote for Islam flat out. Like you can't vote in a president flat out. You just vote for an elector of your state to represent your state in the voting system for a president. Well, that's Farrakhan. You're like, ho. Before you vote for Rizza Islam over Dr. Wesley or anybody, this guy got these rape allegations. That's how I took that. That's how I took that. Oh my God. All right. Anyway. Possessive adjectives, nuestro, have 4 forms. Nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, nuestras. Nuestro means our, It could be nuestro hermano, our brother. Oh, nuestro hermano Riza Islam. Nuestra hermana, our sister. Nuestros hermanos, our brothers. Nuestras hermanas, our sisters. Here are all of the possessive adjectives. Me and mis, singular and plural, my. Tu, tus, it can mean your, familiar, singular, okay? So you're exclusively. Sus or su, his, her, your formal, their. Okay, so sus would be the plural form of it. Nuestro, nuestra, nuestros, nuestras, our. Okay. He wants to break my phone. Note that these possessive adjectives are not used with articles of clothing or body parts. Rather, the definite article is used. Me gusta means I like. Me gusta. El vestido nuevo. I like my new dress. Okay, so I like the dress new. I guess that would be like the literal translation. Me duele el brazo. My arm hurts. So it says, possessive adjectives are not used with articles of clothing or body parts. Rather, the definite article is used. Okay, so that's another rule. So here's the other verb. Well, the only verb we read so far. Tener and venir are both irregular verbs because they are irregular. So irregular verbs are irregular, and you must memorize their conjugations. We present these two verbs together because they are very similar in the way they are conjugated. Okay. So commercial time. Let me give them a bottle.
Broad categories with specific principles. The first is a community. You cannot do anything unless you have a community. Your community is your social cohesiveness. The only power, the potential that black people have in America is your social, racial cohesiveness. If you don't have that, you have no power. Forget about everything else. That's a fact of life. You got to have a community because the community will give you your businesses. It'll give you your sales opportunities in your markets. Now, how do you develop communities? The first thing you must do is stay out of all cross-purpose issues. Cross-purpose means horizontal issues. Don't get involved in any horizontal issues. Let me explain it to you. I see the puzzlements in your eyes. First, racism is vertical. Remember this. Racism is straight up and down. Racism means I don't care whether you're the lowest income black or the highest, the best educated or the least educated. It doesn't make any difference. You're all in the same tube. Okay? That's what Malcolm X was asked, what is a black man with a PhD? Remember that saying? And he answered, well, he's still a Negro. Okay? It means it doesn't make any difference. You're all in it together. That's straight up and down. Horizontal issues are any issue that pertains to everybody, stay out of it. You're the weakest and poorest, most vulnerable people. Don't get involved in it. Because the only people that can benefit are those people who are directly behind where the horizontal crosses the vertical. Okay? The only people who benefit are where those 2 points cross. That's too small. You don't have that kind of energy and resources to waste. Now, what's a horizontal issue? Sexism is a horizontal issue. If you get into these various religious issues, that's a horizontal issue. Poverty is a horizontal issue. I keep telling some of my civil rights leaders, stay away from poverty. You cannot eradicate poverty. Poverty is a fixed, it's a given. You're always going to have poor people. And people, you're going to have poor Greeks, poor Indians, poor Lithuanians, poor Hungarians. Quit trying to eradicate poverty and trying to get as many black folk as you out and leave poverty alone. But they try to eradicate something that can't be eradicated. Culturalism. That's a horizontal issue that pertains to everybody. Let me give you about sexism, for instance. I tell black women who always want to get into sex issue, they think that somehow that the issue is sex rather than racism. See, my great-grandmother was not enslaved because she's a woman. She was enslaved because she was black. Okay? And if you're going to get into sexism, I want black women to understand this, to keep your priorities in order. If I say abracadabra right now and sexism disappeared, you still can't go in a place because you're black. And to keep it in order, remember what your mother felt. The minute she knew she was pregnant, She knew at that moment she was going to have what? A black child long before she knew the sex. So you keep your priorities straight and say, since my color came before my sex, I'm going to keep it in that order. You always stay black first. So stay out of those cross prepositions. I'll explain out the next time I come back out here on a Powernomics workshop or something. But that's very important. I can show you all the problems you got with that. And see, but once you stay out of those horizontal issues, like I tell some of my Muslim friends, I said, don't be worried about pushing Islamic faith. Push your skin color first and stay aligned with your people. And I tell them, the people in the Baptist church, quit worrying about about being a Baptist and worry about being black. And again, I have to give credit to your minister. It seems like he's one of the few in the country who understands that. That you put who you are and as a people before you start talking about what denomination you belong to. And especially since most of the denominations on the earth all work together to enslave black folk. All of them pimp and hustle black folk. The Catholics, the Protestants, the Baptists, the Jews, and everybody else got black folk. But what we're going to do then is start, once we get past building these communities, then we're going to start getting into what we call building alternative economic structures. That's very important. You got to build your own alternative economic structure. An alternative economic structure, in the short time I haven't got time to explain it, is nothing but building your own city, your own communities, your own towns, building a lot of small sub-communities all over America. You build a community of markets, a community of producers, a community of distributors, a community of retailers, and we all interconnect all over the country and build a vertical order. Let me give you an example, for instance. The reason I'm down in Tuskegee and down in New Orleans is because, as an example, we're trying to build 12 major industries in America. The first one is seafoods. Why am I picking seafoods? Because one of the first principles of Powernomics is you must always dominate economically wherever you dominate in population.
All right, we're back. Okay. Tener means to have. Venir means to come. Tengo, I have. Tienes, so that's the irregular verb of it. Tienes, you have, second person. Tiene could be third person or yourself, second person. He has, she has, you have. Tenemos, we have, include myself with the group. Tienen could be you all have, excluding myself from the group, or they all have, exclude myself from the group. Okay. Vengo, I come. Vienes, you come. Viene, same thing. She come, he comes, you come. Venimos, we come. Vienen, you all come, they come. Tener que plus infinitive is one way to express obligation or necessity. This expression can be translated as someone has to do something. Tener is conjugated according to the subject of the sentence. DNA, pure black, what you mean DNA? I didn't went to so many different things today. Tengo, that means I have. Okay, tengo que. When you combine tengo que, that means I have. When you combine tiene que, you have. Tienes que. Well, tiene que could be you, second person, or third person, he, she has. Tienen que means they have, you all have, and tenemos que. That's how it works, we all have. So, tengo que comer las verduras. I have to eat the vegetables. Ángel tiene que leer el periódico. Angel has to read the newspaper. So tengo que plus infinitive is one way to express obligation or necessity. You have to do something. So it's really, I have to do something. Tengo que, I have to do something. Literally, tengo means I have. All right. I que plus infinitive is used to express the idea one must do something, or it is necessary to do something. Is a more general expression, and since there is no subject, the verb form I is always used. Hay que tomar un taxi. It is necessary to take a taxi. hay que estudiar mucho. One must study a lot. So it can go from hay que could be it is necessary or one must. These examples illustrate the contrasting uses of these two expressions. Maria tiene un examen el lunes. Ella tiene que estudiar. I think you said DNA on one of those words. No, I ain't say DNA. I said tiene. Richard, this word right here. This is DNA. Okay, Maria has a test on Monday. She has to study. So Maria tiene un examen or examen. I don't know how you say that damn word in Spanish. El lunes, ella tiene que estudiar. So the tiene verb plus que is I have to do something, or one must. You have to do. No es fácil aprender el español. Hay que practicar mucho. It isn't easy to learn Spanish. It is necessary to practice a lot. An idiom is an expression that cannot be immediately understood by analyzing its literal meaning. A few examples of idioms in English are to be on the go, to play the field, to jump the gun. Spanish also has many idiomatic expressions, although their literal translation sound odd to English speakers. They sound perfectly natural to native speakers. Here's one example. Idiom, hace mucho frío. Okay, literally, it makes much cold. True meaning, it is very cold. So that's how you say it is very cold, okay? So this is the idiom you must remember because this is what you're gonna most likely use in Spanish. Because it will be cold, it will be freezing. And you will say, hace mucho frío to a Spanish person, or even to another person like yourself who's learning Spanish. Okay, so that's important to remember. There are many idiomatic expressions that use the verb tener. This one expresses age. Idiom, tener, whatever number, años. So tener 44 años. I'm 44 years old. But it literally means to have 44 years. Okay, so don't forget, tener means to have. That's the infinitive verb. If I add, so I gotta say tengo 44 años. I have 44 years. True meaning to be 44 years old. That's what it's supposed to mean. But literally, it's gonna, you're saying, I have 44 years. Well, I said it. Many other expressions using tener expressions express physical sensations. This is stuff to remember. So remember, hace frío means it is cold, right? But if I say, see, it says tener frío, but you got to conjugate that to yourself, and you can say tengo frío, and that's I'm cold. I have cold. It's really, you're saying I have cold, but it's translated as I'm cold. Tengo calor, I'm hot. Tener sueño, I have, so you say tengo sueño, I'm sleepy. So in this case, for the baby, I'll say tiene sueño. So that means he's sleepy, but he's not. So tengo hambre, I'm hungry. Okay. If I say tiene hambre, I'm asking you, are you hungry? Tener sed, to be thirsty. Tengo sed, I'm thirsty. Tengo dolor de, I'm sore, I'm hurt. Okay. So these are to be remembered. You know, you got to remember the verb. So all you got to know is that tengo and the expression, the physical sensation, hunger, tired, and you got to just remember this stuff. There are also many idiomatic, so it's like flashcards, really, or you write sentences. So if I already taught this, I'll put together something where we write sentences. include yourself or other people. There are also many idiomatic expressions with tener that express sensations more psychological in nature. So tener prisa, to be in a hurry. So again, when you want to apply that to yourself, you conjugate it to tengo. For somebody else, tiene, tenemos, bien. Right? So tengo prisa. So that means I am in a hurry. Okay. Tener miedo. Okay, that means that means to be afraid of something or to be afraid. If I say tengo miedo, I'm afraid. If I say tienes miedo, I'm saying you're afraid, the person I'm talking to directly. And if I'm talking to somebody ambiguously, I could say tiene miedo. So I'm saying somebody is afraid. And the miedo, I'm saying, okay, so it's de. So I'm saying, so it says you got to say de plus the noun, like what you're afraid of. If you want to say you're afraid of something. All right, so miedo looks like mieda. It could be. So if you're a woman, I'm guessing you would say tengo mieda. You're saying to yourself, you're afraid of something. Okay. So to be afraid to do something, you gotta say tengo miedo if you're male, de plus the infinitive verb. So you're afraid to eat. You could say tengo miedo de what was it? Oh, comer. I'm afraid to eat. Okay. Beber, I'm afraid to drink. So tengo miedo de beber. Tener celos, to be jealous. So that's going to be definitely tienes celos. I'm saying you are jealous. Tener confianza, to be confident. Tener cuidado, to be careful. Okay. Tener ver there you go. I don't know how to say that word. Okay, but again, when I make this better, I'll put the phonetic transcripts there. There are other idiomatic expressions with tener. So you can tell this is old because you don't see the copy. You don't see the screenshot, the copy paste. This is everything. I did all this stuff right here. I typed all this stuff one by one. So I did good because I did the bold, I did the tables, I did everything. The accent on the words or the letters and vowels. This took forever, and this is 166 pages. And I got a physical copy right beside me. So if I screenshot it, it'll be more elaborative, but it'll be more pages because you don't have the tables. I'm screenshotting, so it's going to be probably 230 pages, something like that, or less. But it'll be more than 166. Okay, there are other idiomatic expressions with tener as well. So to be right, tener razón, that means to be right. Tengo razón, I'm right. Tener la culpa, to be guilty. Tienes la culpa, you're guilty. To take place, tener lugar. Tener en cuenta, to take into account. Tener éxito, to be successful. Tener suerte, to be lucky. Tener ganas de, to feel like. When using these idiomatic expressions, conjugate the verb tener according to the subject of the sentence. So yo tengo, okay, we don't need to say yo, that could be omitted. This is for extra emphasis. Yo tengo 5 años. Okay, I have 5 years. Because you gotta know your numbers, 5 is 5. Tú tienes 8 años. You have 8 years. So that's basically saying you are 8 years old. I am 5 years old. Pablo tiene 2 años. So if I just say tiene 2 años, that's a second person, third person, or possibly a second person. If I want you to know who I'm talking about, it's Pablo. It's the noun before the verb. Tiene 2 años. Pablo had 2 years. Pablo's 2 years old. Really? You wait till I teach Spanish each time before you start going on your little rant. Every time. Yeah. They can do bounce, 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 bounce. Bounce, 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 bounce. Get out of here now. Go play. Bounce, 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 bounce. All right. Okay, notice that the expressions combine the verb tener with a noun because the expressions with tener use nouns. They are modified with adjectives, not adverbs. Tengo frío, it means I'm cold. It literally means to have cold. Tengo mucho frío, not muy. Okay, much. Tengo, I am very cold, or I'm much cold. Remember, an idiom is an expression that cannot be immediately understood by analyzing its literal meaning, which right there, I have cold. A few examples of idioms in English are to drive someone crazy, to lose it, to be raining cats and dogs. Spanish also have many idiomatic expressions, although their literal translations sound odd to English speakers, they sound perfectly natural to native speakers. Here's one example. Idiom, hace mucho frío, is very cold. That's the true meaning. In Spanish, there are a number of idiomatic expressions that employ the verb hacer, literal meaning to do or to make, and are used to describe the weather. ¿Qué tiempo hace? What's the weather like? Hace frío, it is cold. Hace calor, it's hot. Hace viento, it's windy. Hace sol, it's sunny. Hace buen tiempo, the weather is good. Hace mal tiempo, the weather is bad. Hace fresco, is brisk. Because the idioms use nouns, they are modified by adjectives, not adverbs. Hace mucho frío, it is very cold. There are other weather expressions that use the verb hay. Okay, hay in Spanish means there are. Hay niebla, is foggy. Hay sol, the sun is shining. Hay relámpagos, is lightning. Hay nubes, is cloudy. Hay un vendaval, there's a windstorm. Hay lloviznas, is sprinkling. Hay neblina, is misty. Hay luna, the moon is out. Hay humedad, is humid. Hay lluvias torrenciales, is pouring. Hay granizo, is hailing. Other weather expressions use the verb estar along with an adjective. Está oscuro, is dark. Está nublado, is cloudy. Está lluvioso, is raining. Other weather expressions simply use a single verb. Llueve is raining or it rains, from the verb llover, to rain. Nieva is snowing or it snows, from the verb nevar, to snow. Nevar, to snow. Joanna. It is thundering, or it thunders from the verb tronar, to thunder. Llovizna, it is drizzling, or it drizzles from the verb lloviznar. Okay, so this stuff, you just gotta memorize. So I'm gonna stop right there, because direct objects is a whole nother ballgame. Here are some common ways to ask about the weather. ¿Qué tiempo hace? ¿Qué clima hace? ¿Cómo está el clima en question mark? ¿Cómo está el tiempo? ¿Cómo está el clima hoy? So I'm going to start right there. And the next slide will be more dramatic. You dig?